All right, guys.
Restart.
Today we're going to talk about conditional statements. A conditional statement is just another name for an if-then statement. Like if your mom says, if you clean your room, then you can go to the movies. So it's just a conditional statement, an if-then statement. Now, conditional statements have two parts, the if part and the then part. The if part's the hypothesis, which you may have heard in science. The then part is the conclusion. So, if you study hard, the if part's the hypothesis, then you will get an A, then part's conclusion. The symbols for a conditional statement is P arrow Q. That just means if P, where P can be anything, then Q. So you're going to have some problems where you have to identify the hypothesis and the conclusion. Like, for example, this says, if it is Saturday, then there is no school. What would the hypothesis be? If it is Saturday, then there is no school. Conclusion. On your assignment, I will let you, if you want to. I had people last year, they decided to just like highlight hypothesis, or you can copy and paste. Or you could highlight hypothesis like, I don't know, pink. And then the if part in pink. And then highlight the conclusion maybe blue. And then highlight the then part in blue. So it says, if you see lightning, that's the, what part is that? If you see lightning, which part would that? Hypothesis. Then you hear thunder would be the conclusion. So those first three is just the hypothesis and the conclusion part. So if you would like to highlight it in different colors, you can do that. Or you can copy and paste. Whatever works for you. Any questions on 1 through 3? Lane.
So hypothesis, that was the if?
The if part, that whole if part. And the conclusion is the whole then part.
Wait, this is in math, you sure?
Yes, this is math. I know, it's a little different. You're going to think you're in English. This is leading us, we're going to be writing proofs later, and we're going to have if-then statements with proofs, and so that's why we kind of just start with easy if-then statements. If I were you, I would enjoy it while it lasts, because this should be super easy.
Is there an extra credit?
Not on this particular part, no.
So it would be hypothesis. You see lightning.
Then yes. And if you want to copy and paste, or you can highlight different colors, whatever you would like to do, you will be submitting this assignment to me later.
What's a counterexample?
Okay, that's what we're getting to. So writing a counterexample. A counterexample, if you have an if-then statement, they're trying to tell you, well, if, like for example, if x squared equals 25, then x equals 5. No matter what, always. That's the case. But you might be thinking, well, x doesn't always have to equal 5. Did you guys know x doesn't have to equal 5 if x squared is 25?
Yes.
Wait.
X could be negative 5. Because isn't negative 5 times negative 5 also 25? So a counterexample is just coming up with something else, but you have to make it counteract the then part. The if part never changes. So I'm not going to say, well, then x squared equals 36 or something. You can't change the if part. Does everybody understand that? Do not change the if part. You just give me a counterexample for the then part. Like, for example, if it is a weekend, then it's Saturday. What's the counterexample? Sunday. For your counterexample, it's just one word. You do not have to rewrite an if-then statement. You just give me a word. If you live in a country that borders the United States, then you live in Canada.
Mexico.
Mexico.
What about, like, times and stuff?
So, on this says, if it is noon, so that part can't change. It has to be noon. Don't change the if part to 1 o'clock or something else. If part stays the same, if it's noon. Then the sun is shining. What's a counterexample?
Not.
Raining. It's raining. It's cloudy. Your counterexample, and you just write one word. You don't have to make it into an if-then statement. Just write one word.
So raining?
Yeah. If a car is full of gas, then it will start.
What if we don't have a cold break?
Well, it still
It'll
can start.
die.
It's a Ford.
It's a
No,
dog.
no. Hey, okay, guys, listen. Nathan said, well, if the car's empty, you can't change the if part. That car is full of gas, period. You can't change that. The car is full of gas. What is a reason it might not start, Lucas?
There's no engine.
There's no engine.
There's no oil.
Because it's a Dodge.
The battery's dead. It's a Dodge.
Or there's no wheels.
There's no wheels. Well, it still might start, but it may not run.
If it's a Chevy, it'll run out.
Right. So the car being full of gas does not change. The only thing, that's right. The only thing you can change is the then part.
No, like no.
You can put dead battery. Perfect. That's my favorite excuse. A dead battery, because it will not start. It can be full of gas all day long, but you
The
try
gas
to
set on
turn it.
fire.
Okay, whatever.
Sugar in the paint.
All right. Moving along.
Converse.
Converse. Do you like my Converse shoes?
My sister bought a fidget spinner. I worry for her.
Oh, okay.
My mother has
All right. We're going to talk about Converse now. So take a break from your assignment and pay attention to Converse. Everybody with me? Ramses? Okay. Converse. If you have an original if-then statement, all that Converse does is flips it. So, for example, if it is raining, then it is cloudy. My Converse takes my conclusion and my hypothesis and flips them. So if it is cloudy, then it is raining. Now, sometimes, okay, so all the Converse does is flips. Like if I said, if you clean your room, then you go to the movies, I would just flip it and say, if you go to the movies, then you clean your room. So all the Converse does is flips it.
That makes no sense.
However, the Converse, what doesn't make sense?
If you go
Well,
to clean your room.
Right, I'm just flipping the hypothesis and conclusion. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always true. So, if it is raining, then it is cloudy might be true, but if I flip that, if it is cloudy, is it always raining?
Not always.
Not necessarily. So, it doesn't have to be true, but we're still going to write the Converse.
But one time I went outside and it was sunny outside and it was still raining.
That happened in Hawaii too. So these don't have to be true. Don't have to be true, but we're going to write it. Not always false. So like, for example, this says, if you live in San Diego, then you live in California. So that would be true, right? If you live in San Diego, then you live in California. But the converse would be, yeah, if you live in California, then you live in San Diego. Is that true?
No.
Yes.
Not necessarily. Couldn't you live in a different part of California? Yeah. Okay. If two angles are complementary, then their sum is 90. Now, you have to think about this when we're writing converses. Guys, quiet. I need your attention. In English, you talk about subjects of statements. So if I write the converse of this, this says, if two angles are complementary, then their sum is 90. When I flip it, I don't want to say, if their sum is 90, then two angles are complementary. Your subject of your statement needs to stay the same. So the subject is two angles. Is everybody with me? We're talking about two angles. If two angles are complementary, then those two angles are 90. So I want to keep if two angles the same. So I would say if two angles sum is 90, then they're complementary. So the subject has to stay the same. Make your sentence make sense. Don't say if their sum is 90. You don't even know what there is. Okay. So subject stays the same. So let's try one converse real quick. Let's try a converse.
Number 7's a ripoff.
Okay, which one? The bird one? Oh, I don't. All right, we can do the bird one, but we're going to do converse only. Then I'm going to talk about inverse and contrapositive. But the converse is just the flip. So it says, if a bird is an ostrich, then it cannot fly. Well, first of all, what's the subject of that statement?
The ostrich.
No.
Flying.
A bird. A bird is the subject. If a bird happens to be an ostrich, then it can't fly.
I got it.
So the subject is a bird. So I'm going to say, if a bird, what?
Can fly.
No.
Cannot fly.
Cannot fly.
It is not always an ostrich.
It is an ostrich.
Then
Can fly.
it's an ostrich.
That's fake.
That's right. You're right. That is a false statement, but you're going to write it. So, all we did was flip the conclusion and the hypothesis. If a bird cannot fly, then it's an ostrich. Okay, we need to talk about inverse and contrapositive.
Counter.
Okay, so we talked about converse. Let's go into inverse and contrapositive. So, a negation. Have you guys ever heard of the word negation?
Negotiate.
A negation? Have you heard? Do you know what negation means? No. Okay, so this is something you might talk about in English. A negation is just the negative of a statement. Like if I say Ramses is cool, the negative would be Ramses is not cool.
Which would be true.
So the negation is the not, the opposite. This says, it is raining is the statement. It is raining is the statement. The negation would be, it is not raining. Now, what if I already have a negative statement? The sun is not shining. The negation would be the sun is shining. You wouldn't say the sun is not shining. You would say it is shining.
That would mean.
So far we've learned converse is just the flip. Inverse takes the negation of the hypothesis and the conclusion of the original statement. So, in verse, I think to myself, knots go in. Knots go in the inverse. So my statement says, if it is raining, then it's cloudy. The inverse adds knots. So do you see how, if it's not raining, then it's not cloudy. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
So inverse puts the knots in the original statement. Lucas, are you paying attention?
Yes, I am.
Inverse puts the knots in the original statement. Inverse puts the knots in the original statement. What was converse?
Shoes.
It's just the flip. Okay, so converse is the flip. Inverse puts the knots in the original statement. Contrapositive, biggest word, you do the most to it. Notice contrapositive starts with C-O-N and converse starts with C-O-N. Do you guys see that? The contrapositive takes the converse and puts the knots in it. So if it is raining, then it's cloudy. I take the converse and I add the knots. Do you guys see? Converse, contrapositive.
But
if it is not cloudy, then it is not raining.
So let's say that.
So that's easy.
Okay, yeah, let's go back to our bird. Let's go back to our bird, number 12. So, okay, it's okay. We're looking at it. Lucas. Okay, converse was just the flip. If a bird cannot fly, then it's an ostrich. Okay, inverse takes the original statement. We're at the original, not the converse, the original statement, and we add the knots in there. So I would say, if a bird is what? Not an ostrich, then it can fly. I wouldn't say it cannot not fly. Don't do not twice. Double knots is.
two right, so many one wrong.
So then it can fly. Okay. Now we're going to talk about this real quick. First of all, if a bird is an ostrich, then it can't fly. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Ostriches, for some reason, can't fly.
Because they're fat.
Okay? Okay, hang on. Shh. So this is true. Converse. If a bird cannot fly, then it's an ostrich. Is that true? No. What other birds can't fly?
Emus.
Penguin. Yeah, okay. right, emus. Okay, so
Oh, peacocks.
They can fly.
peacocks can fly. Okay, inverse. If a bird is not an ostrich, then it can fly. Is that true?
No, ma'am.
No, there's other birds that can't fly. Now let's do the contrapositive. So contrapositive takes the converse and adds the not. So we've got the flip and the knots. So how would I write? So I'm going to take the converse and add in the not. So what would I write?
If a bird is not flying, then
If a bird can fly, then it's what? It's not an ostrich. So let's talk about that truth value. If a bird can fly, then it's not an ostrich. Is that true? It is. If your original statement is true, the only other statement that will always, without a doubt be true will be the contrapositive every time.
ow.
That happens to be the answer to your number 20 on today's assignment. FYI.
Wow.
So the only other statement that is always true, if your original is true, is the contrapositive. Contrapositive. So if you scroll down to number 20, what's the answer to number 20?
Contrapositive.
Contrapositive. Thank you.
Why did you put the line there, though?
Yeah,
They're
for real.
confusing.
What now? I gotta look.
You gotta like make all the
Well,
lines
it used
go
to
away.
be a worksheet that I had people, so yeah, sorry. It used to be a worksheet. So you can like just delete the lines and type in contrapositive or whatever. So contrapositive is the only statement that's always true.
There are so many contrapositives.
There's one other thing I forgot to talk to you about. For 7 through 10, we have to rewrite the statement in if-then form. How? Ah. Hello, sorry, my video. Okay, how would you rewrite, get a free water bottle with a 1-year membership to Gold's Gym? How could I write?
If you get a 1-year
Zach, what would I
membership,
do?
then you get a free water bottle.
Okay, if you get a 1-year membership, then you get a free water bottle. Yeah. You just write it underneath it, yes. If you get a 1-year membership, then, what do you
It's not
think?
to Gold Gym.
What if you just put with the 1-year membership?
Wait, so do you have
You have to make it an if-then statement. So you have to have if and then.
So do you have to put the to gold?
Nope, not what I want.
I'm not worried about that.
Wait, if you get a 1-year
Then what?
Then you get a water bottle.
Yes.
I can
that
buy
is right.
like 10 water bottles for the price. of
I
one.
know, for a membership. How would I say,
But it's point. That's point.
what about number 9? The intersection of 2 planes is a line.
If the intersect, oh wait, no.
Yeah.
If 2 planes
How would you say
intersect,
it, Jillian?
If 2 lines intersect, then it's
Yes.
intersection.
I would say if 2 planes intersect,
Then it's a line.
then their intersection is a line, maybe. If 2 planes intersect, I'm going to abbreviate, you guys can too, then their intersection is a line.
I help him. He's my teacher. I'll help him.
Okay.
Oh, I got it.
All right. So you will be changing.
True,
We only
true.
need one. We only need one. So we'll be changing some words to, or some statements into if-then statements as well. I think I got some jokes.
Knock, knock.
I
No.
got a question.
These you might like. Hang on. Okay, so this is Hitler. Where Hitler got his hate. He was
Jewish.
he was trying to give people high fives,
Oh gosh, this is such a bad joke.
and nobody gave him high fives. That is bad. That is bad.
I don't get it.
And then because you know how he does this, the Hitler doesn't that what?
Why would you do that?
And then this one says free high fives, and the guy's like, "Do you have any down lows?" It's like, "Sorry, I'm all out. Dang, you were too slow."
Yes,
It's stupid. It's all about high fives today. Okay. Thanks. I try to be funny. Watch me not ever be funny again.
It's actually pretty funny though.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
All right.
one really made me
When you finish this assignment, you will go back into your calendar and you're going to have to submit it. So if you click up here, geometry, conditional statements assignment, up at the top right, yours looks different than mine. It's going to say submit. And you're going to submit it as a file upload. So you're going to have to find that document in your Google Drive. And if you need help, let me know. But you're going to submit it through Google Docs.
I got a question.